Hello, everyone. Welcome to Topic 3, Lesson 2, set of notes for ordering and plotting rational and irrational numbers onto a number line. Just a quick review from Lesson 1. When we started talking about rational numbers, we were talking about numbers that can be written in fractional form, A over B form. That included whole numbers, integers, decimals, mixed numbers, and of course, fractions. And irrational numbers were numbers that we could not write in fractional form. So my first question to you is this. Let's pretend that this is our set of numbers, negative 1.4, negative 3/5, 1.5, 1/4, and the square root of 4. And my question to you is, what do you notice about these 5 numbers? When I look at these 5 numbers, I notice right away that I have different formats. Right, I have a decimal, negative 1.4 is a decimal number. I have a fraction. Negative 3/5 and 1/4 are both fractions. I have a mixed number. 1.5 is a mixed number, and I have a square root number. And in order for me to put these numbers onto a number line, I need to have them all in the same format. And the easiest thing for me to do that is to convert all of these numbers into its decimal equivalent. So we're going to work on converting each one to its decimal equivalent. Some of you might know how to change some of these numbers into decimals. If you do, great. If you do not, we need to make sure that we pay attention when we talk about that. So step one, anytime you got to order numbers, is we're going to take each number and we're going to convert it into a decimal number. If we scroll down to the table here, we'll look at how do we convert each of these numbers into its decimal form. Negative 1.4. We don't need to do any converting. It is already in decimal form. Like it, and we already have decimal form. So its decimal value is already negative 1.4. Our next number is negative 3/5. And some of you might have heard me say this before, but a fraction is a division problem. So if I want to change negative 3/5 into a decimal, I need to divide the numerator by the denominator. And I'm okay if you use a calculator to help you with this. Pull my calculator up. I've got negative 3 divided by 5. And I can see that's going to give me a decimal value of negative 0.6. So negative 3/5 is equivalent to negative 0.6. If we have a mixed number, 1.5, we need to convert this mixed number into an improper fraction first. This is a skill that we learned earlier in the school year, right? 1 1/2 is equal to 3 over 2. And once I have it in fractional form, 3 over 2 means 3 divided by 2. And I can use my calculator to help me get that decimal value, right? Come up here and clear this. 3 over 2 is the same as 3 divided by 2. And if I do that, I can see that 1.5 is equivalent to 1.5. 1/4 is another fraction, right? Since it is in fractional form, all I need to do is to divide the numerator by the denominator, and I will be able to have my decimal value. Obviously, if you know what 1/4 is as a decimal, then you don't need to do this. But if you do not know, 1 over 4 or 1/4 means 1 divided by 4. And of course, that is equal to 0.25. And the last one here, the square root of 4, I am going to use my calculator to help me get the value of this square root. I'm just going to say use the calculator. If you are using a different calculator and you don't know where the square root button is, then please make sure you ask for assistance. The square root of 4, I'll pull up my calculator here. On this calculator, it's over here. It's got the 2 with the little, kind of looks like a check mark on the X. So I'm going to hit 4 and then that button. And it's going to tell me that that square root of 4 is equivalent to 2. So square root of 4 is equal to 2. And that would be its decimal value. Somebody might want to say a 2 or 2.0. That is okay. I prefer, since it's a whole number, just to use 2. Step 1 is all complete. We've taken each of our numbers in the set of data and converted them into their decimal form. So step 2, now we need to put those numbers into numerical order on our number line. And it's super important that you understand this. I need to use my original numbers here that I'm going to put in green. I have to use these 5 numbers on the number line. I do not use the decimal value numbers that we've created. I'm going to use my original numbers that I put in green here. I'm going to refer to the decimal values to help me organize them, but you have to put the numbers over here in green, the original numbers on the number line. So the first one, negative 1.4. Again, just going to come over to my number line. I know that negative 1.4 is between negative 1 and negative 5, and I know it's going to be closer to negative 1.5. So it doesn't have to be exact, but I do need to be in the general ballpark here. So I'm going to say that negative 1.4 is roughly about here. And then I'm going to go above it. I'm going to write negative 1.4. Negative 3/5 would be next. And I know that negative 3/5 was equivalent to negative 0.6. So again, I'm going to come to my number line. I see negative 0.5 and negative 1. I know that negative 0.6 is in between those two. Negative 0.6 is going to be to the left of negative 0.5 or negative half. So again, I'm just going to approximate this. I'm going to put my dot, and then I'm going to put negative 3/5. 1.5 was 1.5, right? Those were equivalent. So again, I'm going to find 1.5 or 1.5 on my number line. That's pretty nice because 1.5 is actually on the number line. I'm going to plot my point here at negative, or it's going to be at 1.5. And then above it, I am still going to write 1.5. And it's a mixed number. And then 1/4. Again, I understand that 1/4 is the same as 0.25, and 0.25 is going to be directly in the middle of 0.5. So I'm going to put my dot directly in between 0.5, and then I'm going to put 1/4 above it. And then my last number, the square root of 4, using the calculator, we saw that that was equivalent to 2. And if I go on my number line and I find 2, I'm going to plot my point, and then I'm going to put the square root of 4 above it. And now I have successfully placed all the numbers on the number line in numerical order. Negative 1.4 is the smallest, then negative 3/5, then 1/4, 1.5, and the square root of 4 is actually the number that is worth the most here. Make sure you are understanding how we convert these numbers to a decimal. I want you to go ahead and scroll down and look at the next couple of examples on your own. Please write how to convert and the decimal values, and then you can place those numbers on the number lines underneath them for step 2. You can check back in a few seconds and see the results. All right, here's a look for the first example. Again, make sure you are understanding how we convert each number into its decimal form and then placing them onto the number line below. If you have any questions, please make sure you're asking. Scroll down to the second example, same thing. Please make sure you are understanding how we convert each number into its decimal form and then please make sure you understand why these numbers are located where they are on the number line. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask.